credit quietly opens doors.
One touch. Coffee arrives. The door turns. The train departs. Today becomes easier because credit magnifies the now. It pulls time forward. But every pull forward leaves a shadow behind. Obligation. A small expense seems innocent. Then another one. The next week. The next month. Then, without realizing it, the thread of decisions is tied to the future. Credit expands possibilities. It flows through life. It gives speed, but it often makes the price invisible because debt hides inside the word later. That's why credit is more about psychology than money. It's not the moment of payment that dominates, but the moment of purchase. The mind relaxes. The bill is postponed. Looking at the long term, the truth is simple. Credit enlarges life, but it also enlarges the bill. Without seeing the invisible part, what you thought was freedom turns into a calendar. Installments break the truth down into small pieces. They don't show a big price tag, just a small, manageable number. The mind loves this because the pain shrinks and the desire grows. A product arrives, then another, and another. Each one seems small, but the sum of the installments narrows the scope of the future. Credit works like magic here. It expands possibilities. It amplifies the feeling of, I can do this, but it hides the obligation. Because the burden isn't a single moment. It's a contract spread out over months. As daily life flows, debt remains silent until it piles up. At that point, debt is no longer a payment. It becomes a lifestyle. In the long run, the question is, did this installment really save me time, or did it take time away from me? Credit brings opportunity forward, but it locks its price into the future. A house key fits in the palm of your hand, but the promise behind it stretches across the years. With a loan, you buy a house. It feels like you're building a life, and it's true. A loan expands your possibilities. But a mortgage isn't just about buying a house. It's about buying time, piece by piece, from the future. It's about fitting a payment into every month. There is excitement on the first day. Even when the walls are bare, you say, ours. Then, life begins. Furniture, repairs, taxes, insurance. And behind everything, a steady rhythm. The rhythm of debt. Credit provides a sense of security, but it also restricts your freedom of movement. It affects your choice of job, your choice of city, even your courage to take risks. Because debt places an invisible weight on your decisions. In the long run, a house is not just a place, it is a commitment. Credit speeds up the process of building a home, but it leaves part of your freedom pledged to the future. The metallic sound of the key is short-lived. The sound of the contract is long. Education is often described as the gateway to the future, and most of the time, it is. Credit opens that door earlier. School, courses, certificates, opportunities grow. But education debt is a bill cut into the future. You promise to pay before you even earn. And that promise doesn't end with graduation. It carries over into your new life. The first job, the first paycheck, the joy is short-lived because debt arrives at the same time as income. Here, one realizes credit is not just money. It also shapes choices. Finding a good job starts to feel like a necessity rather than a desire. Taking risks becomes difficult. A new city,
A new attempt, a new beginning. All negotiate with the calendar.
without credit, perhaps this education would not have been possible. That's true. But credit makes the obligation invisible while increasing the opportunity. In the long run, the issue is not taking on debt. It is realizing that debt quietly changes the direction of your life. Credit is fuel not only for individuals, but also for companies. It expands factories, increases the the number of trucks and opens doors to new markets. Growth through credit seems like normal life. Produce, sell, expand. But debt imposes a condition on the future of the business. When income falls, the first thing to be shaken is not the dream, but the payment schedule. Company credit increases opportunities. It provides speed. It expands scale. But at the same time, it creates an invisible expectation. A regular flow every quarter. Regular payments every month. This burden is not felt until hard times come. It even looks like success. Until demand slows down, costs increase, and interest rates rise. At that moment, debt increases. Not growth, but fragility. In the long run, credit inflates companies' coffers, but it also puts pressure on their veins. Structures that appear strong sometimes only stand on debt. Credit expands opportunity, and at the same time, quietly brings in risk. Pay the minimum, no problem. This sentence is the most dangerous song of credit, because it's not a big mistake that ruins you. It's a small habit. The minimum payment makes the obligation seem smaller, but in reality, it extends the duration of the debt. Interest works over time. While you think you're breathing easy, the debt continues to grow. Credit provides relief here. It makes room for today, but it carries the cost over to tomorrow. When the mind focuses on the short term, the total cost becomes invisible. 1 month, 2 months, and then the debt becomes the background music of your life. People no longer think about how much debt I have, but rather, can I manage this month? Looking at the long term, the minimum payment is not an exit, it is a corridor. As the corridor lengthens, the feeling of freedom diminishes. Credit expands your possibilities, but without you noticing, it draws you into a longer contract. And the biggest price it takes is your attention and peace of mind before it takes your money. Buy now, pay later. This isn't actually a payment method. It's a time agreement. It takes today's desire and carries it over to tomorrow's budget. Credit accelerates consumption. It makes the decision easier because there is no pain at the moment of purchase. The pain is postponed to a future day, and everything that is postponed seems lighter. But as the obligation is postponed, it becomes invisible. People see their future selves as strangers. They'll pay. The problem is this: when the future arrives, that person is still you, and on that day there is another new desire. Thus the cycle begins. Possibilities expand, debt spreads, time shrinks. Credit works like a magnifying glass here. It magnifies desire and diminishes responsibility until the total burden reaches the point where it disrupts the flow of life. Looking at the long term, the phrase "pay later" is not a relief. It is a cycle. Credit creates opportunity, but it quietly adds the price of that opportunity to your calendar. Credit works not only for individuals and companies, but also for the state. The state borrows, roads are built, hospitals are opened, salaries are paid. Today, order prevails. Debt creates a social time lag here. Today's needs are tied to future income. This is sometimes inevitable. It provides breathing space during a crisis. But the cost of debt is also collective. When interest rates rise, when debt servicing increases, options narrow, taxes rise, spending is cut, the currency feels the pressure. And this is where credit's biggest trick comes into play. The obligation is invisible, because those making decisions today may not be the same generation that will pay the price. In the long term, government debt is like a bridge. If used correctly, it is a passageway for society. But if constructed incorrectly, it becomes a chain rather than a bridge. Credit expands possibilities, but silently shifts the burden onto the shoulders of the future. Modern finance doesn't just create debt. It packages it, transports it, sells it. Loans come together, change names, get rated, and circulate like a product. This system increases opportunity because it appears to spread risk. Money flows faster, more people get loans, more projects get funded. But there is a danger here. Liability is hidden within layers. As debt grows, the question of who is liable for what becomes blurred, and this blurring creates panic in times of crisis. In normal times, everyone is happy. There are returns, there is growth, there is movement. But when stress hits, the makeup runs. Because the essence of debt does not change. Someone takes it on, someone pays it back. In the long run, financial engineering can make debt invisible, but it cannot eliminate it. Credit expands possibilities, but as complexity increases, the liability is buried deeper. And the most dangerous thing is that the invisible risk provides a false sense of security. Credit appears generous in times of abundance. When everything is flowing smoothly, no one wants to talk about debt because the music of the system is loud. But when liquidity disappears, credit shows its true face. Money suddenly becomes expensive. Renewal becomes difficult. The just 1 month deferral becomes a wall. That's when it becomes clear. While credit expands opportunity, it also expands fragility, because debt relies on trust. When trust is withdrawn, the system freezes. People and institutions hit the brakes at the same time. Everyone rushes for cash, and cash is hardest to find when it's needed most. In the long run, credit is like a river. It nourishes life as it flows, but when it recedes, cracks remain. That's why debt management isn't just math, it's stress moment design. Credit creates opportunity, but in a crisis, the obligations it hides suddenly become visible, and that visibility reprices everything. Credit is not bad. What is dangerous is thinking of credit as normal life, because credit is a tool. It opens doors in the right place and closes them in the wrong place. Credit increases possibilities. Education, home, work. These are real opportunities. But every opportunity comes with a promise. The promise to pay it back. And this promise affects your future options. Looking at the long term, the thing to do is not to avoid credit. It is to make credit visible. See the total cost. Feel the duration. Ask, what is today's comfort reducing tomorrow? Debt pulls the future into the present. This is sometimes a strategy, sometimes a trap. The difference is not in the intention, it is in the control. If the payment schedule controls you, credit is not freedom. But if you control the schedule, credit can be leverage. Time 1456 says, credit expands possibilities, but hides obligations. When the hidden becomes visible, decisions are clarified. And the most solid order is the one established by those who see the invisible. Interest is not the voice of debt. It is the voice
Of time, because interest consumes time before it consumes money. Days, months, years, silently. When a loan is taken, the amount is fixed, but as the term lengthens, the nature of the debt changes. It is no longer just repayment, there is waiting, and this waiting generates costs. As credit opportunities expand, interest begins to work. You go on with your life, you go to work, you shop, you make plans, but as time passes, the debt grows, because interest is the only thing that earns without moving. The illusion here is this: people measure debt in money, but the real cost is the time spent. Interest ties your future labor to the present. It makes you spend hours you haven't earned yet. That's why low interest rates are comforting and high interest rates are frightening. But both do the same thing. They price time. Looking at the long term, the truth is clear. Interest doesn't make debt heavier. It makes it longer. And every extended debt narrows your freedom to make decisions. Credit expands your possibilities. Interest determines how long those possibilities last. Time 1456 reminds us, you can pay back money, but you can't get time back.